Hello, good afternoon and welcome to the Midday News. The news is live on Joy 99.7 FM here in Accra. In Kumasi, we are on Love 99.5 FM affiliates across Ghana's 16 regions. We are on ATL FM and Castle FM in Cape Coast, also on Jubilee and Sun City Radio in Keta. We are live on Twitter Spaces. We are on Facebook. We are on myjoyonline.com. The Midday News is sponsored by Duraplus Ghana Limited, producers of quality PVC pipes and water tank. Where Duraplus goes, water flows. This afternoon, despite threats by independent power producers to shut down production over huge debts owed by government by end of month, it is emerging this afternoon that there have been no negotiations so far, contrary to government's earlier indication that it is engaging the IPPs.
No, we've not had any negotiation in that regard. None of the IPPs has been engaged in any conversation or discussion regarding that proposal.
What then happens after the June 30 deadline?
Well, definitely, if there is no remedial action, I cannot guarantee life from 30th June.
Also this afternoon, teacher unions to meet over the mass failure of prospective teachers in the licensure exams.
We will engage the NTC and find out who are this category of students who normally will fail the exam. We are in a meeting. It's possible we'll come out with something after that.
We'll get to hear from Nagrat and also a former Director General of the GES calling for an overhaul of the sector.
What I think we need to do is to look at the entire educational system.
For those who have written 9 times, what advice will you give them?
The advice is that they are not cut for teaching. They should look elsewhere.
Also this afternoon, I'm ready to show you the identities and locations of armed land guards terrorizing people in part of Accra. That's a challenge of a security expert to the Inspector General of Police.
There's a major criminal there called Black. Black, who is located in Galilea, Manhiame. Old gangster and police chief, if you are listening to me. And then Red Moro at Tumofa.
Well, the Lands Commission says it cannot be blamed for challenges with land acquisition and points fingers at the police and the Attorney General for lack of progress in prosecution.
If he went to jail for 3 years and he's back, why wouldn't he be emboldened? And that doesn't become an issue solely with the land administration bit. It has to do with the law enforcement bit.
But if you're wondering why land guards are not targeting places like cantonment and airport, stay with me. I'll give you details of that in sports.
FIFA leads tributes to Asamoah as he says goodbye to active football.
An intense legal argument set to take place at the High Court over whether the James Jachikwesin trial should be put on hold.
Our problem has been with the day-to-day hearing, the daily hearings, and we shall make a strong case for the matter to be adjourned beyond 27th.
He has a right to contest. The state also has a right to hear cases pending in court. So it's going to be opposition.
We're live in court, and also the NDC is prepared for the worst as it alleges abuse of political power to frustrate a man determined to develop his constituency.
When we try to use political power to intimidate each other, it erodes the confidence in our democracy.
You think he's been intimidated?
Yes, because you see, Jachikwesin is going to keep the seat. They can do their worst. The worst they can do is to imprison him.
We have more from the former Minority Chief Whip Mutaka Mubarak, who's also been speaking on his new role as a lecturer at the university.
I must say I'm really enjoying it because you have seminars where you share your experiences and you have a masterclass. I mean, these are mature students who are working. So you are talking about life experiences. You are talking about how things get done, how things get knocked down.
This is your home of independent, fearless and credible journalism. We are Joy News. Please stay on for more here on the Midday News. I am Emefa Apau. Many thanks for your company. And it's been weeks after the independent power producers, IPPs, threatened to shut down production to demand payment of their debt. It is emerging this afternoon that the government is yet to commence any payment negotiations with them. Now, this is contrary to earlier claims by government that it is in talks with the IPPs. Currently, we know that government owes the IPPs over $1.4 million out of a $2 billion total energy sector debt. A couple of weeks ago, Managing Director of the Electricity Company of Ghana, Asamoah Mahama, told Joy News that his outfit is leading talks with independent power producers to avoid a possible shutdown of their power plant. We'll hear from the IPPs shortly their response to this, but listen to Mr. Dubik Mahama making the point on the Super Morning Show, insisting that an agreement will be reached.
We've had very, very productive discussions and they would not go off with all confidence. I would say ignore because we do owe them. So I would say ignore, but what I'll say is that the conversations are far advanced to avert something like this. And so I can say with all confidence that it won't come to that. There are a few NDAs in place, but let me give you a small whole. We are trying to find a way to make sure that the money expected of us to pay is reasonable and is within our reach. Because what IMF is saying that ring-fence legacy debt, but you have to stay current. If those excess and idle capacity charges are still existent, we cannot be current because we will still be punching above our weight limit. So we need to find a way with all of them at the table to agree on an amount or a tariff that halts these excess payments for a longer period of time, and then we can consider it in a different form for them. In fairness, everybody has a different way of how they set up the plant. Yeah. Some of them self-financed, so they don't really have lenders that are disturbing them. Others have lenders that are disturbing them. As I said, everybody's problem is different.
So that's what the managing director of the Electricity Company of Ghana, Asamoah Dubik Mahama, told us a while ago about talks with the independent power producers. Well, my colleague James Aveji has been following this story for us on an energy desk and joins me in studio with more on what we are learning. So, Aveji, what did the IPP say about this intended negotiation 2 weeks ago down the line, and what are we learning?
So they are saying that apart from the fact that they also heard in the media that this negotiation is going to be initiated, no government official nor the ECG boss who made a pronouncement here has reached out to them. They also added that, in fact, since they have put out that notice to put off the power after June 30, nobody has got in touch with them to speak to them. We can listen to the CEO of the Chamber of IPPs, Elik Blim Apatogbo.
Honestly, there is no change in the position. We've not received any substantive payment to sustain our operation or our pressing obligations that we need to fulfill to our stakeholders. So I can say we've not made any improvement in our efforts to have our arrears paid.
Initially, we were told that the ECG is supposed to lead some negotiations with you to do some monthly payment to defray the debt over time. Has that negotiation started so far?
No, we've not had any negotiation in that regard. None of the IPPs have been engaged in any conversation or discussion regarding that proposal. Besides, if they talk about monthly payment, our bills have to be settled within a specific time frame that we call a credit period. Usually, we can say 40 to 45 days. So we expect periodic payments as and when revenues are collected to be disbursed. And we expect that by the end of those credit periods, the monthly bill or invoice will have been settled fully, but that is not the case. So I don't think it requires any new negotiation in that regard.
Does that mean that you haven't heard anything officially from government since you put out that notice?
Nothing officially from government, except for some interventions that has been made by the World Bank with the Ministry of Finance. What we heard unofficially was that government says they do not have that money to pay. So I can say that is the only feedback we heard unofficially.
Well, so James, we've been hearing from the finance minister, has been alluding to that. What has been their response to the latest indication from the finance minister then?
Yes, Samefa. So during that press briefing on Sunday, the finance minister indicated that the energy sector will undergo some vigorous reforms through the implementation of what he called inter-utility debt settlement framework on a quarterly basis starting from this month to save the sector from collapsing. Ideally, you would expect that an engagement would have begun with the major players like the IPPs, but they are saying that they have no idea about this framework and that they will shut down the machines after the deadline.
No, we've not received any notification, any indication from him. But what is important to note here is that we cannot wait any longer for some of these rhetorics. We are in a very critical situation. So I think the earlier the better to save the situation.
With all of this playing, will our lights be on after 30th June?
Oh, definitely. If there is no remedial action, I cannot guarantee light from 30th June.
That's the CEO of the Chamber of IPPs, Elikplim Apetogbo. So the energy mix, including hydro, as we have it as a country, is 4,832 megawatt. The SOEs, as the state-owned enterprises, are contributing 56%. The IPPs contributing 44%. For thermal generation, we have 3,248 megawatts. The SOEs 33%, and the IPPs are contributing up to 67%. And they are threatening to shut down their plants, take us off the grid. June 30 deadline. What is exactly government's position on this now that we are learning that there's been no negotiations at all, contrary to earlier claims? Elton Robe joins me in studio. Elton, you've been trying to reach government. What have they told you?
The response is that they have given the Electricity Company of Ghana the authority to negotiate on behalf of government, and they expect the ECAG to lead in this negotiation. The hope is that the June 30th deadline set by the IPP to put off their plans will not materialize. The expectations that ECG will pull through this negotiation.
Okay. Thank you very much, Elton. We are watching that closely for you. And there's also more on myjoyonline.com. Now, let's turn our attention to education. And the major teacher unions are set to meet over critical issues in the educational sector, especially the mass failure of prospective teachers in the recently held line central examination. The unions are concerned that over 6,451 resitters failed to make the pass mark. Meanwhile, the National Teaching Council has justified the assessment, saying persons who failed the numeracy, literacy and professional knowledge test are not fit to teach. Dr. Christian Adaipoko is registrar.
If a Ghanaian teacher now is going to teach in the UK, you don't need to write any exam or build any portfolio. You just go with your NTC licential results or the license. Only 4 countries in Africa have that dispensation: Ghana, South Africa, Nigeria, Zimbabwe. It tells us that we are doing a great job. So we are setting standard that is not only applicable to Ghana, but also a global standard. And that means a Ghanaian teacher is a global brand. Wherever you go, you can fit into the system.
Well, some prospective students who are preparing to write the exams later this year are already raising concerns about lack of preparatory materials. My colleague Jackie and Sumaya Boa caught up with some of them.
So personally, most of us are doing our preparation on our own. It depends on how you will do your own preparation. Some are relying on past questions, and others too. There are some groups that have been created that they are also benefiting from in one way or the other.
Okay. And what about you? How many months more till you write?
So probably next month, I guess. Right. So next month. So.
And what are your preparations?
So like you said, we went for an induction service, and all what they said was we should rely on past questions.
Looking at most of the conversations we've had with some of our friends, it looks like they are lacking the materials, like materials to aid them in their preparation. And if those ones could be provided, like if there could be avenues how they can get
what
them.
Materials are
like,
those?
You see, this year it's going to be in a different form, unlike the previous year. So if the materials for the various areas that will be writing are available in their quantities, I think it will help.
Well, the situation continues to spark national debate on how to save the situation and boost the quality of teachers entering the field. Let me briefly bring in the Vice President of NAGRAT, Mr. Jacob Anaba. We're grateful for your time here on the Midday News. I'm sure you've been trying to find out as an association why this mass failure. What have you been able to find?
Yeah, thank you very much. Good afternoon. And afternoon to your good listener. Yes, it came to us as a shock and a surprise that this number failed in the exams. And looking at or listening to the registrar, he said some of them tried for about 9 times and they fail. What is happening is that technically these people are not qualified teachers, because if you do not pass your licentiate exam, you are not a registered teacher. So listening to the students, they have also raised concern about material. The fact is that NTC conduct this exam without any syllabus. They are giving areas where they should study. So the students will have to prepare on their own and sit the exam. So it is possible that some of these are the reasons why we are seeing this mass failure. Apart from that, we have students from different categories of institutions. We have the university, we have the colleges of education. In the university, you may have a sandwich program or a distance program. So there are also different courses that are undertaken by these students. So these are areas that we need to interrogate and investigate and find out which area is most lacking in the students' preparation for the exams.
Okay.
And the unions have taken it upon themselves to meet and have a discussion on the statistics that we have received and see the way forward.
Okay, and I'm sure that includes a meeting with the National Teaching Council. But amongst your members, though, do you get the sense that the public is judging these prospective teachers wrongly by just failure of exams?
Yes, the term use in the public is not a good one because it gives the wrong impression that teachers are not well prepared before they get into the classroom. But this is indicating to us before you become a teacher, you need to meet a certain minimum standard. And that has been the state of affairs over the years. So this is rather will give confidence to the public that anyone who enters the classroom is well prepared and has the competencies to teach the Ghanaian students.
Okay.
So we should look at how we can get to the root of the problem and get it resolved.
We are grateful. That's Jacob Anaba, Vice President of NAGRAT, immediate past Director General of the Ghana Education Service. Professor Kwesi Opoku-Amankwa is calling for an overhaul of the educational system as a solution to the problem.
If we are looking at just the exam to determine what is going on, we may not be able to get the exact solution to it. What I think we need to do is to look at the entire educational system and then look at how we can resolve issues, the gaps, the challenges that we have along the line. Or can we look at the qualification that we require to go into our colleges of education and then into our areas in the education in the universities. In fact, it may not be out of place to start people right from the secondary school, giving them ideas about if you want to go into teaching, this is what you need. As a nation, you also have to give some high priority to the teaching profession.
For those who have written 9 times, what advice will you give them?
The advice is that they are not cut for teaching. They should look elsewhere.
That's the former immediate past DG of the Ghana Education Service, I beg your pardon, Professor Kwesi Opoku-Amankwa. Closely related to education, though, the Ministry of Education has assured that government is on course to completing and utilizing Eblock senior high schools. Minister of Education, Dr. Yaw Anim, who announced this, also stated 60 of the 200 schools have so far been completed and are being used. Nana Ochima has more.
Education Minister Dr. Yaw Anim explains there was a policy shift for some of the schools in hard-to-reach areas to operate as boarding schools.
In many other schools, we are going on same tangent where if there will not be enough students for the school to operate effectively as a day school, then the only way out will be to add a dormitory and then open the school as a full-fledged high school.
The Apija Senior High School in Adanse South District is about 90% complete, but some equipment are installed in the laboratory. Following the heightened concerns of many in the community, steps were taken to operationalize the school. Public Relations Officer for Adanse South Education Directorate, James Kusiduku, says students who have been out of senior high school since 2019 were given opportunity to be in the school.
And also students who were placed in other schools by due to 1 or 2 reasons, they couldn't go. That's 2022 students, they also came.
168 students are presently enrolled, all of them being boarders. The Education Minister reviews steps are being taken to complete the school to ramp up enrollment.
Wherever it's not there, will be there. But we have to begin. and we have begun, and therefore we'll get to the intended destination.
For Joy News, Nana Ojima reporting.
Taking us on a quick break here on the Midday News Live on Joy 99.7 FM here in Accra, in Kumasi on Love 99.5 FM. We're on ATL and Castle FM in Cape Coast, Jubilee and Santity Radio in Keta. We're on Twitter Spaces, we're on Facebook and myjoyonline.com. The Midday News is sponsored by Duraplast Ghana Limited, producers of quality PVC pipes and water tank. Where Duraplast goes, water flows. And despite threats by independent power producers to shut down production over huge debts owed by government, it is emerging this afternoon that there have been no negotiations so far, contrary to government's earlier indication that it is engaging the IPPs. When we return, we have sport, and then I am ready to show you the identities and locations of armed land guards terrorizing people in part of Accra. We'll hear from a security expert.
There's a major criminal there called Black. Black, who is located in Galilea, Manhiame. Old gangster and police chief, if you are listening to me. And then Red Moro at Tumofa.
Imagine say water wake up at dawn. You know both. You know chop. Where it vanish for your area for 2 weeks. You not get one drop safe inside your tank.
Hey.
Hajia, our life was in dangerous. Only our neighbor gets water with water tank.
Water tank?
Yes, water tank. Mamma mia, that water tank gets meter for checking water level. That water tank be fine past Kumasi Selindion. That water tank be tough like Ghana Army. That water tank, they carry water pepe, so say some no go left inside the supply tank. What a tank! That's my boss, Mr. Poncho go talk.
Beautiful, durable, with water level indicator and accurate volume of water. Water tank. What a tank! By Duraplast.
Have you noticed that Ghana has suffered lack of attendance at stadia across the country in recent years? Well, the Multimedia Group wants to be part of the solution, which is why we're calling on you, our dear listener, to help us. Our sister station, Inshira FM in Kumasi, has been on a nationwide campaign to identify factors influencing poor patronage of Ghana Premier League matches. This campaign has been widely discussed on traditional and social media since the beginning of the year. And after widespread stakeholder engagement, we have a list of questions in a survey that will help us come out with a communique based on science and data, and we need you to assist by completing this survey. The link to the survey is bit.ly/PhilGPL questionnaire. Once again, bit.ly/PhilGPL questionnaire. Please help Inshira FM and the Multimedia Group complete the survey in order to have a scientific response to this national problem.
Thanks for staying with us. Time for sports, Mubarak.
Yep, MFNL. FIFA and CAF have paid their tribute to Asamoah Gyan after he announced his retirement from active football. The two football buddies shared videos of Gyan on their social media handles, paying compliments to his goal-scoring ability. Now, Gyan has scored the most goals by an African player at the World Cup and is Ghana's all-time scorer, netting 51 times. Now, Ghanaians, whom Gyan had a love-hate relationship with, have showered praises on the former Sunderland striker.
I think that the name Asamoah Gyan is special. I quite remember one day I was going through social media and I saw a Ghanaian who was in another country, and he said that because he mentioned he's from Ghana, and the people said, "Oh, Ghana, Asamoah Gyan." Based on that, doors just opened for him. He was able to get his visa and a lot of things. They gave him food, and it was very great.
I don't know much about the Black Stars. I mean, the strikers who play for the Black Stars do, but for what I've seen and what I've watched, I think it will be the best striker we ever had in the Black Stars.
He's been Ghana's best striker in my lifetime. I've watched Abedi Pele, yes, but for me, I would always vote for Asamoah Gyan.
Now, before I go, Black Stars midfielder Edmond Addo has signed a 4-year deal with Red Star Belgrade, and Arsenal have also edged closer to signing Kai Havertz from Chelsea for a reported fee of £65 million. Back to you, MFA.
Thank you, Mubarak. Now, Director of the Faculty of Academic Affairs and Research at the Kofi Annan International Peacekeeping Training Center, Professor Kwesi Enin, says he's ready to show the police the identities and location of some land guards terrorizing developments in the Gas South municipality. Activities of land land guards have been in the news lately following the killing of 5 land guards after an exchange with the police, gun exchange with the police. While speaking to Joy News, Professor Anin said the land guards are operating freely because they enjoy the support of some influential persons in society.
If you go to Peacetown in the Gas South municipality, there's a major criminal there called Black. Black, who is located in Galilea, Manhiame, old gangster, and police chief, if you are listening to me, and then Red Moro at Tomofa. These two steal people's lands. They managed to get some documentation through this Alaji that people are buying these lands. The question that it raises is that should I also use my contacts to get people who are better armed to go and face these people?
Well, land consultant and lecturer at the University of Ghana Law Faculty, Kwame Jan, warns the Inspector General of Police to consider reshuffling personnel in the peri-urban areas.
Who does prosecutions in this country? AGs, the police. Yeah. So the person has done the thing wrong. Mind you, he has to go to a process of prosecution. They have to go to courts. The court has to find them. The judiciary has its part to play. The police have their part to play. For the land administration side, the fact that you make registration easy, determination of title easy, that will be the role that land administrators will have to play.
Well, that was the Greater Accra Regional Director of the Lands Commission, Timothy Anyidoho. We can now hear from lawyer Kwame Jan.
Yes. Why is everybody trying to take land in cantonments and range?
Tell me. Yes.
Because the title is secure. Primarily. Maybe 98%. Yes. You know why? Because the hands of the state was involved in the acquisition and the setting out of that place. Now, we have issues with the Lands Commission because we think that in some cases their systems for allocating public lands are not open, are not transparent, politicized, and so on. But look at the other side, where we left it in the hands of the traditional owners.
Now, lawyers of NDC's James Jachikwesi are hoping to convince the High Court to suspend its trial to enable him have ample time to campaign. Residents of Asin North will vote on June 27, but the campaign of the NDC's candidate is being hampered by his trial, which is set to take place on a daily basis. The party's legal team is unhappy about the situation.
Our problem has been with the day-to-day hearing, the daily hearings, and we shall make a strong case for the matter to be adjourned beyond 27th. Don't forget that he's undertaking a national assignment, and that's a national assignment the Attorney General doesn't understand. For the Attorney General, it must be Akufo-Addo inviting you to the Flagstaff House and giving you work. But he doesn't know the Constitution also imposes a national duty.
Well, the Office of the Attorney General disagrees. Alfred Chianyabwa is Deputy AG.
It's not about he not being allowed to contest the elections. He has a right to contest. The state also has a right to hear cases pending in court. So it's going to be a position that the court properly exercise a discretion in granting adjournment on daily basis. And that's what we're going to maintain.
And we are told it's a packed court, and due to that no movement order by the judge, my colleague Joseph Akable is unable to join us. But from what we know that Kojo Bonsu is there, Professor Nana Jane Opoku-Agyeman is there, former Attorney General as Betty Modu-Drisu and Marietta Brewer-Piopon are all in court. Peter McMenu of the NPP is also in court. We'll bring you subsequently more from the court. But former Minority Chief Whip Muta Kamubarak says the NDC is prepared for the worst possible outcome in terms of how this criminal case will end.
Jachikwesi is going to keep the seat. They can do their worst. The worst they can do is to imprison him, right? He will still keep the seat. That seat will still not be in their hands. And you see, the sad thing, and I keep saying this, and this happens to both sides of the political divide. When we try to use political power to intimidate each other, it erodes the confidence in our democracy.
You think he's been intimidated?
Yes, because you see, Evans, each and every one of us cannot, today, we could easily discount COVID.
Now, quantifying and monitoring fires is fundamental to mitigate their negative impact on the environment and society, and also for ongoing climate studies as wildfires significantly influence global atmospheric emissions and climate change. The increasing availability of Earth observation data combined with other advanced systems, along with the exceptional processing power of cloud computing, has allowed the Earth Observation Research and Innovation Center to generate a service that can map fires at an unprecedented level of detail. We have Climate Focus.
The servers that send information to the ground stations outside to move whenever there's a pass are all in here.
The system enables them to track satellite data products in real time for several applications such as land use, wildfire monitoring, weather forecasting, and climate modeling, among others.
The Earth Observation Research and Innovation
Engineer Ekose is the ground systems manager.
So the Earth Observing System affords us with satellite information data that helps us to detect fire hotspots in Ghana and in West Africa. The information is fed into an advanced virtual fire information system, which is an ICC-based information, to alert farmers and then other stakeholders about areas where fire is of high risk and where fires are currently occurring. We do this in near real time, as and when there's a satellite pass over the system.
The Earth Observation System is about 10 steps outside the strong room. It is Ghana's only provider of near real-time Earth observation satellite data.
And that's how we end today's edition of the Midday News. And we know that in court also the prosecution of former GFA President Kwesi Nyantakyi has been put on hold following the refusal of investigative journalist Yaw Anim to testify under current conditions fixed by the court. There's more when you log on to myjoyonline.com. I am Emefa Apau, and there's more on My Joy Online. We have Living Word with Pastor Mensa Otabil up next. Please do stay.
If home is where the heart is,